we are gonna focus on managing some money right now. And sometimes it feels like it's really just pennies that you're trying to stretch, but we have been doing this with the guidance of the expert, Crystal Howell. She is a chartered professional accountant, she's a certified internal auditor, and she is looking a lot like Christmas too. Good morning, Crystal.
I thought I was trying, but I'm looking at both of your backgrounds and it feels like Christmas just rough all over your homes.
Well,
Girl,
tomorrow you're in a hat. I'm gonna find a hat today, Cassandra. I'm gonna find us a hat or some antlers or something because this is really, really working for me. I love it. I love
I
it.
I
I
have
love it.
I have to borrow Liam's antlers. I don't think he'd mind. I think there's a hat somewhere at home too. We could do something.
Make it happen.
We
Make
can
it
make it
happen for
happen.
sure.
Crystal, great to see you and happy holidays to you. This is beautiful. It's not a typical color, but this is too cute. I'm loving this.
I agree.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we appreciate it.
I
You were
It
going
was
to
my
say,
compromise. My friends know I'm not a Christmas person, but I do enjoy how it makes children very happy and makes
yeah,
persons happy in general.
yes.
I think I know why. I think I know why. I'll go on a limb here. You're not a Christmas person because as a financial guru and an auditor, you see that Christmas takes advantage of people's pockets. It gets them in trouble going into every new year because they spend too much at
That's
Christmas.
one of the reasons. That
One
is,
of the reasons.
I'm trying not to be a downer, but I
I know.
know when I see the memes with the 850 days of January and everything else, it's because you get your salary early in December. There's so many sales, there's so many temptations, and then you see the children's faces, and you have to get something for the children.
Yeah.
You
It's
do.
true.
I know it is that time, but I'm hoping that persons would have budgeted and would have planned what they had to do so that they would have been making sure they had enough so they can enjoy all the festivities without January becoming a burden. Because I'm definitely not against persons enjoying the season. I just hoping that persons planned for it properly.
Yeah. I spoke to people and who were like, I am so scared to touch that thing. So so people are just making sure. I think the key thing is to remember to take care of those obligations that would typically come around a little
Yes.
later in the month before you get all trigger happy. But we turn it over to you to guide us into today's session in any case and give whatever other advice is critical at this time.
Well, we've been talking about budgeting for a long time, and I know January is usually the type of year where persons will make their resolutions, whatever they didn't get done in 2020. And we don't want to only blame COVID for anything we didn't get done. We want to take a hard look because 2021 may or may not be any better in terms of what's happening with COVID. So we want to make sure, in spite of all of that, that we settle our budgets, we try to come up with our plan and our goals, and we write them down. We make sure that we have everything written down. And I know we've been spending the last few weeks trying to make sure, because I know for a lot of persons, getting your businesses in order is one of those 2021 goals. And we're going to try as much as possible to make sure you have all of the tools to get that done because 2021 cannot be as difficult as 2020, at least not without us giving it our all. So we would have started looking at some ratios. And the reason why these things are so important is that you don't want to just have a budget or have statements and not understand what they mean. You want to be able to know, how does this impact my business? What does this mean to my business? So another one of the ratios that are commonly used is something called the current ratio. And all that means is trying to give you an idea of how well you'll be able to pay off any short-term obligations that you have. And it's a very simple ratio. Again, if you don't remember, you can go on my YouTube channel for these videos, or you can Google this. But you take all of your current assets and you divide them by your current liabilities. And to just give you a reminder of what your current assets are, your current assets are anything that you own that would basically be used up within a year's time or less. So when you think of that, you think about the cash you have in the bank, you think about people who owe you money, that person who has a little tab, that inventory that you have that you're going to be selling in at least a year's time. All of those things are your assets and or your current assets, I should say. And then your current liabilities is anything that you would owe that you would have to pay within a year's time. So let's say you have something going with a particular supermarket and they've agreed to let you be able to purchase inventory and pay within 1 or 3 months' time, that would be considered a current liability. And the reason you want to be able to understand these ratios, you want to be able to know, okay, how much time do I have if the worst was to happen to be able to pay back all of the liabilities I may have. And you are hoping that this ratio is at least one at the very least, because if it's less, that implies that your liabilities in a year's time, you have more things to pay out than you have assets that you can liquidate within a year's time to be able to pay them. And I think for some businesses, when they're looking at this particular ratio, they may not realize that over time, this ratio may have been going down because of COVID or because of some of the sales they've been giving, some of the credit that they may have been taking on. And this can help you to get back on track in terms of being able to make sure, that whole thing where persons feel as though they have money in the bank account, so they're good. This is going to help you to be able to see if you really are good, if the money in your bank account or the persons who owe you is enough to help you with all of the liabilities that you have.
Very
So
true.
I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think it's important for persons to be able to pay attention to these things. And for some persons, the next ratio that you would usually look at would be to what we call an acid test ratio, which usually takes out the inventory because for some persons, if you could sell the inventory, it would have been sold. If you
Mm.
and you also might take out prepaids because you've already spent the money. So persons like to take these out because they want to be able to see, okay, if I get stuck with this inventory, what's my real position? So that you don't have to put yourself in a situation where you have to slash prices by half price just to get rid of your inventory so that you be able to meet your obligations, which is what you see a lot of persons doing. You might see this sale where everything is 50% off, 60, 80% off because they're trying to quickly get rid of the inventory so they can meet their obligations. This could even help you if you do get into that situation to understand, if I slash my inventory by this much, is it enough for me to meet all of my obligations?
That's a big question. So you really have to be paying attention, and I guess, Crystal, it's like you've always said, you have to be monitoring all along the way and
Yeah.
making those good notes, keeping good books, even if in a simple
Yes,
way.
I definitely encourage persons to keep track of these things because seeing a ratio, as I mentioned last week, seeing a ratio of 1.7 or 3.8 doesn't mean anything in isolation, but it helps if you've been monitoring these things over time to see if have I been improving in managing the cash that I have, in managing my assets, or is this a situation where things are deteriorating and I need to make some kind of intervention to be able to pull myself back out of trouble? And I know it sounds like a lot. This is why people usually would hire someone to help them manage these things. But if you've been maintaining some basic records, if you have a small business, these are things that can help you to be able to pinpoint some of the issues you may have because some persons may have very simple records where they have cash, they have a few persons that they owe, and they know that they're able to check very quickly what their current ratio or their quick ratio is over a period of time. But if your financials have become more complicated and more difficult to track and identify, you could engage some help if you're not comfortable with Google or any of the apps or any of the accounting programs that may be necessary to help you to get this into place. And remember, the bigger your business, the more difficult it is to track these things. You
Yeah.
want to be doing it early, you want to get into these habits. Please make it a 2021 resolution. I know there are a lot of persons who have been opening small businesses. You don't want to get into bad habits that then when your businesses start to grow, it feels as though it's out of control. So let's make this a 2021 goal.
Sounds good, Crystal. Always a pleasure getting the advice from you. Just quickly before you go, remind viewers where they can go to your page to, get some help there.
I have my YouTube channel, which has all of these videos up. So that's Crystal's Corner. You can also find information on my page, which is on my Facebook page. I also have Instagram, which is Crystal_Clear246.
Well said. Crystal, always a pleasure. Merry Christmas. We hope to
Merry
control our
Christmas to you.
spending going into the new year, and we hope
Budget,
that you're
budget.
happy with that.
There's nothing wrong with spending money. I don't discourage people from spending money. I encourage persons to know and track how they're spending it and make sure it's within a budget. That does not, I don't want to hear people in January saying that they're dying. You don't want
Listen, I put that one on our Facebook, 850 days in January. That is the funniest thing I've heard. Well, the week has just started, so I say all week. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a good one, Crystal.